Today, we're breaking down a truly fascinating matchup from the 2026 FIFA World Cup. You know, the anticipation surrounding Group F leading up to this fixture was absolutely electric. And today, we're looking at the decisive 3-1 victory by the Netherlands over Tunisia that basically settled the whole shebang. The setting for this clash? The packed GEHA Field at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. And let me tell you, the energy on the pitch completely matched the deafening intensity of the crowd. The Oranje firmly stamped their authority on the group, while a fighting Tunisia eventually bowed out of the tournament, but they absolutely did so with their heads held high. We've got the data, the timeline, and the key tactical moments mapped out for you, so let's get right to it. So how exactly did the Netherlands conquer Group F in just 10 minutes? I know it sounds like an exaggeration, right? But it's literally the core narrative of this match. In elite international football, the opening moments can set the psychological and tactical tone for the entire 90 minutes, and the Dutch understood this perfectly. They came out of the tunnel completely dialed in, just totally bypassing the usual feeling out process. By pressing high and suffocating the midfield, they ruthlessly capitalized on early nerves. It created this high-stakes, chaotic scenario that practically decided the game before the African side could even process what was happening. Truly a masterclass in establishing dominance right from the first whistle.
So the crucial point is the sheer finality of this 3-1 victory. What were the actual stakes here? Well, by securing the top spot in the group, the Netherlands punched their ticket to the round of 32. Setting up a highly anticipated and undoubtedly intense clash against Morocco. They managed to avoid the harder side of the bracket, validating their status as serious tournament contenders. On the flip side, despite a really valiant, gritty effort, this result meant Tunisia is officially out of the tournament. The global bracket is taking shape, and this single 90-minute window was the undeniable turning point that sent one team to the knockouts and another team packing.
Act 1. The early Dutch Blitz. To understand how we got to that final result, we've got to break the match down into its distinct phases. Honestly, if you blinked, you might have missed the most defining moments of the game. The Netherlands didn't just start fast, they executed a lightning-fast offensive storm that instantly put the opposition on their heels. Right at the 3rd-minute mark, Denzel Dumfries explodes down the right flank, just overwhelms the fullback, and whips a fierce, low cross right into the penalty area. It's a dangerous, panic-inducing ball. In a desperate attempt to clear it, Tunisia's Ellyes Skhiri unfortunately slices his clearance directly into his own net. Boom, an instant, brutal advantage for the Dutch. But they didn't stop to celebrate for long. Jump just 4 minutes ahead, to the 7th minute. Tijani Ragers delivers a beautifully floated free kick. Captain Virgil van Dijk uses every inch of his frame to rise up and head the ball across the face of the goal, and who's there reacting the quickest? Brian Brobbey, smashing home a ruthless half-volley. Just 7 minutes in, and Tunisia is facing an absolute mountain to climb. And you know, that half-volley wasn't just a great piece of individual skill, it was Brian Brobbey's 3rd goal of this 2026 tournament. 3 goals already. It really shows the sheer consistency, spatial awareness, and lethal finishing he's bringing to the Oranje squad. When you have a striker in that kind of scorching form, early leads start to feel almost insurmountable for the opposition. Defenses have to completely overcompensate to mark him, which in turn opens up massive pockets of space for the Dutch wingers to exploit. It's a compounding tactical advantage, and it all starts with just one player's peak performance.
Act 2. The Eagles' resistance.
But of course, football is rarely a one-sided affair for a full 90 minutes, and we have to give immense credit to the Eagles of Carthage. Down 2-0 in the first 7 minutes? I mean, a lot of teams would simply fold, drop their heads, and just wait for the final whistle. But Tunisia? No way. They absolutely refused to roll over. And this brilliantly illustrates the contrast on the pitch. While the initial Dutch storm relied on lightning-fast strikes and an instant psychological advantage, the Tunisian response was built on pure, unadulterated persistence. Once they survived that chaotic early blitz, they smartly slowed the game down. They methodically regrouped in the midfield, started stringing purposeful passes together, and actually began to dictate the tempo. They were finding openings in the Dutch armor. In fact, just before the halftime break, Enes Ben Simone went very close with a powerful header, though Dutch goalkeeper Bart Verbruggen was perfectly positioned to safely collect it. Still, the momentum was, subtly but surely, beginning to shift.
That persistence finally paid off early in the second half. Hazem Mastouri read the flight perfectly, outjumping the Dutch defense to power home a brilliant header. This was the 54th-minute breakthrough Tunisia so desperately needed. And the build-up was just fantastic. Hannibal Mejbri spotted a weakness in the zonal marking and delivered an absolute pinpoint corner deep into the box, and Mastouri finished it flawlessly with incredible aerial dominance. In an instant, Tunisian hopes were completely revived. You could literally feel the energy of the Arrowhead Stadium crowd shift, transforming from a Dutch celebration into this really tense, nervous atmosphere. It was suddenly game on, and the tactical pressure on the Netherlands was immense.
Act 3. Orange's clinical finish.
However, the true mark of a great tournament team is how they respond to sudden adversity. Tunisia's joy was palpable, but it was incredibly short-lived. This is the phase where the sheer, undeniable class of the Netherlands shone through, to kill off any remaining hope of a miraculous comeback. Now, what's really interesting about this is how, when restoring order in the second half, the Netherlands relied heavily on their maestro, Tijani Reijnders, the architect. He was absolutely crucial in dictating the flow of the game when it mattered most, acting as the calming heartbeat of the squad. Remember, it was his well-delivered free kick that set up the second goal back in the 7th minute. And when his team felt the game slipping out of their control, he was the man stepping up to orchestrate the vital set pieces once again, manipulating the Tunisian defense with his incredible vision.
Let's see how this builds, because just 8 minutes after Tunisia scored, the Dutch dismantled them in 3 swift, rehearsed moves. Step 1. In the 62nd minute, our architect, Reijnders, steps up and delivers a remarkably sharp corner kick, finding the exact gap in the defensive line. Step 2. Defender Jan Paul van Hecke, having made a brilliant run from deep, connects perfectly with a glancing header. And step 3. The ball takes a slight, agonizing deflection off Ben Soumaine and nestles right into the back of the net. It was a sequence clearly born on the training ground and executed flawlessly under pressure. Just like that, the critical 2-goal cushion is restored, the scoreline reads 3-1, and the wind is completely taken out of Tunisia's sails.
From there, the match became a brilliant, chaotic display of offensive ambition versus desperate pride. The Netherlands, sensing blood in the water, were actually hungry for more. Reijnders nearly added a spectacular 4th goal to cap off his masterclass performance, but his audacious lobbed effort rattled agonizingly off the crossbar. Tunisia, to their absolute credit, showed incredible heart and mounted a final desperate push. Ellyes Skhiri appealed heavily for a penalty after a tangled challenge in the box, and Hannibal tested for Briggen with a vicious, dipping, long-range blast that demanded a top-tier save. But through all that late drama, the experienced Dutch backline remained disciplined. They absorbed the pressure and held entirely strong until the referee finally blew the final whistle.
Which leaves us with one final burning question. Can the Oranje carry this momentum against Morocco? The Netherlands demonstrated pretty much everything you want to see in a champion. A devastating early blitz, clinical set-piece execution, and an incredibly resilient defense that didn't panic when tested. But the round of 32 brings a whole new level of pressure. You better believe Morocco will have watched this tape very closely, noting both the offensive firepower and those brief moments of vulnerability in the midfield. So will the Dutch's dominant form hold up when the stakes are even higher? That is what we'll all be eagerly watching to find out. Thanks for joining me on this